To be honest, drawing a portrait can be a little intimidating. Maybe it seems like you've been drawing face after face and none of them look quite right. In this video, I'll be going step by step, teaching you everything I know on how to get that drawing looking just right. Now, before we begin our portrait, let's try and get familiar with the main features of the face. 1, the eyes, 2, the nose, and 3, the mouth. Eyes are very important to a character. They can showcase so much personality in just a small space. There are a lot of different ways to draw them, but I'll just do a few examples here. A few things to remember. Different eye shapes show different personality traits. Slim, triangular eyes can show cunning or perhaps slyness, while round, soft eyes can show youth or innocence. Eyebrows are important as well. With thicker eyebrows can make a character seem more stern or earthy. Thinner eyebrows can seem more graceful. Moving on to the nose. Since my art style is closer to a manga style, I tend to give characters a very simple nose. A few examples of this would be a small triangle, a tiny dot with some shading, or just the nostrils. Again, different noses can work for different characters, so do as you see fit. I draw mouths pretty simply as well, and I rarely give my characters lips. When drawing an open mouth, I don't suggest drawing individual teeth unless you want a very realistic look. You can easily get away with grouping all of the teeth together and occasionally drawing the canines. Now that we know how to draw the features of the face, let's move on to drawing the head. I'm going to give 2 examples of how to draw the shape of the head. One will be a female head and the other will be a male head. This is to show how to make a more feminine face versus a more masculine face. Let's start with the female head. Now, females tend to have larger heads than males. They also tend to have rounder cheeks and rounder chins, but this can vary. Male heads, however, are by and large much more angular, with pointier chins and a clearer jawline. Of course, age affects this, with all children and teenagers having less developed facial structures, giving them much softer face shapes than adults. Now, to be honest, this side view was kind of a second thought because this isn't supposed to be the most comprehensive video on how to do portraits, but I thought I might as well include the side view angle just to give a basic idea of how to do it. I have an extremely stylized side view, so I suggest looking at references for this because honestly, profiles can be kind of tricky sometimes. The only thing left to talk about before getting started on our portrait is hair. To be honest, hair can be a pretty complex subject, and right now we're just talking about portraits. So I'll probably try and expound on this some other day, and today just give you a quick overview. Hair can be drawn much more easily by knowing just a few basic mechanics. First off, you should almost never draw individual strands of hair. Hair can be usually drawn in groupings or clumps to make it easier, faster, and better looking. Second, remember to have a hairline. Unless your character has extremely sloppy or unruly hair, odds are they have a hairline. Hair should be drawn coming from this hairline. Lastly, hair can be divided into 3 parts: bangs, side bangs, and the back. Drawing the bangs, side bangs, or back differently can result in a completely different look. Now that we know how to draw all of the individual components of the head and face, let's do our portrait. Now, usually when I'm doing a portrait or any other really illustration, I usually like to start with a color erase pencil, which is basically just a colored pencil that you can erase. I started here by just sketching lightly. You never want to press too hard whenever you're doing the sketch, or else you'll just have this indent on the paper and it won't look nice, and sometimes it won't even erase. You can't really see the blue on the camera too well, but later I go in with a regular pencil. It's a mechanical pencil actually, and just kind of sketch over top of it because it can actually be really beneficial to do 2 sketches and kind of just have that first layer down and then erase it a little bit and then get a second sketch layer on top. It's a little bit like digital art. I'll do that a lot. But this way, it's just, if the first sketch there was something wrong with it, sometimes you'll be able to see it better in the second sketch. And it also helps whenever you're doing line art because then everything's already all figured out and you don't really have to just guess what you were going for, which actually makes the line art turn out really a lot better than it normally would if you just did one sketch. I decided to add a few stars in the background because I thought it was looking a bit plain. Just a little tip, just so you know, usually the distance between two eyes should be one eye. So if you could have like a third eye right in the middle, then the eyes are usually just the right amount apart. See, here's where I actually started sketching with the regular mechanical pencil, and you can see it a little better now what I was trying to draw. This was actually my second attempt at trying to do a portrait, because the first one was pretty alright. I just didn't really like the way the line art was going, so I decided just to start over, which is actually a good idea sometimes. Really, it is good to just go ahead and start over on another drawing if a drawing really isn't turning out the way you want it to. Here I start with I believe it's a Sakura. Yeah, I think it's a Sakura fine liner. They actually work really well. They have the pigment is so black and it just looks gorgeous on paper. But the thing about it was, this paper, I don't know what it was about it. It just doesn't seem like it was a very good paper to be doing the line art on, because it was very textured, and I think it's more suited to maybe some acrylics or watercolor or something. But it didn't do too well with the pen. Also, another thing to note, since I mentioned I was using the Sakura, sometimes I'll color in my art with alcohol markers, and I think they work really well. But the thing is, the Sakuras, I don't know, I think they're water-based or something. I'm not really sure, like, what, or maybe it's that they're alcohol-based, and then if you use an alcohol marker on top of it, they'll usually bleed and just kind of leave a smear. So I would suggest using a brush or just some kind of Milla pen or fine liner that actually is built for using alcohol markers on top of, or else you might get some really ugly smudging and ruin an art piece you really like. To color in the choker, I used the brush, and I think I might have used it somewhere else, I don't remember, but I personally don't really like the brush pens because they're good for some things, but I don't know, I'm very heavy-handed, so sometimes they just don't work for me. You'll notice in the video that I draw the pupils like 5 times. I just didn't really like them. I felt like they kept getting lopsided. I'm still not sure how I feel about them, but I think it turned out alright. After this, I go in with a Tombow watercolor brush pen. I just felt like there was something it was missing, so I just kind of shaded some of the areas, gave it a little extra color. Like I said, this wasn't supposed to be the most comprehensive, detail-oriented video. I might do that someday, but this was just supposed to be kind of a short overview of how to get a portrait done, because sometimes it really can just be the hardest part just to start it. And, you know, it's really just all about those little things, just learning how to draw eyes, draw a mouth, draw a nose, head shapes. So, hopefully now you've got some ideas for portraits of your own. Now, that's about all I have for today, so thank you for watching, and have an awesome evening.